Hey guys, welcome back. Today I really want to talk about a piece of technology I use on a daily basis. I love this. It's my original gen, or my first gen iPad Pro. This is the larger, I think it's like 12 inch, something close to that. I love this thing. Now, whether you're a big Apple fan or not, the reason I want to talk about this is not really because of the particular product that this is. I happen to love Mac stuff, but that's not really important. The reason this has been so exciting for me, and I found myself using it basically on a daily basis, is for note-taking and kind of keeping up with my list of things that I've got to get accomplished on any regular basis. Whether that's for work or personal, I've always got a running task list. Now, I found personally that Evernote is like my tool to use. I've gone through a bunch. Things like Remember the Milk and Jira and half a dozen others I've tried out. And while they're all amazing tools, they just don't really work for my workflow. I don't really want to deal with kind of this ticket-based system where I have all these tasks I've got to get accomplished, constantly update notes, and there's way too many fields. But also I found if I got too simple, like a simple to-do list like Remember the Milk does, while it's fantastic for what it is, it's just too simplified for me. I need to write down a little bit more and keep track of it, and I end up having task sprawl just like I have email sprawl. And it doesn't get me anywhere. With Evernote, it just as a note-taking app, it's been great for me, and I've started using it more for bookmarks and clipping notes and things like that, but I'll talk about that stuff in another time. What I want to get to on this iPad, and the thing that I love about it, is the handwriting. So I've got the pencil, and originally I bought it as like, oh, this is really cool. I'd listened to a few podcasts about drawing and all stuff like that. Realized pretty quick that I might have wasted some money on this pencil because I don't draw. I'm not much of an artist at all, and I couldn't figure out what to use it for. Until I came across an app called Notability. I love this thing. It's an app specifically for taking notes. You can type in it using the keyboard, and as a point of reference, I actually happen to have the Mac keyboard or the Apple iPad keyboard. Side note, I've tried a couple others, and while they're all really good, they're too thick. The clamshell stuff for me just makes it as big as my MacBook Pro, and I don't want to carry that all around all the time. I like having this, but that's just too much. So I ended up investing the money in the keyboard, and I'm surprisingly happy with this. I wasn't sure if the responsiveness of the keyboard would actually be something I enjoyed typing on. It's turned out to work really, really good for me, and it's really compact. So don't have to take my advice, but personally, I really love it. It's been a great investment. Okay, back to this app. So Notability is a note-taking app. Allows you all the kind of general features you would expect from a note-taking app, such as creating some sort of groups to organize notes, color coding, basic stuff like that. There's some tagging you can do, all those things. But here's what I love about it the most. Let me launch this for you. So there's Notability. It's pretty straightforward. It's got a list of groupings of some kind on the left, which you can organize however you want. Obviously, portrait or landscape mode, whatever your preference happens to be for typing or for handwriting. And then in these notes, you can either simply type into a note, or like I did here, you can handwrite. Now the rad part about this thing is, not only can you pick the pencil type that you're going to use, the color of ink, all things you'd expect, and there's an eraser so you can erase. That's easy stuff. There's also a highlighter, so you can pick different types of highlighting and different sizes of the bit for highlighting, which I actually find really useful for note-taking and keeping up with something while I'm in a customer meeting or taking notes on some social stuff that I'm doing and planning. See my other videos for that stuff. And I use that a lot to kind of keep track of what I want, just like I would in a paper notebook. The reason I don't use a paper notebook anymore, or at least not as much as I used to, for daily note-taking, is I never would go back and look at the notes. I'm not good at going and finding those things, and let's be honest, unless you're tagging them with little like stickies on the side, there's no great way to go back and find them. Now, I say that knowing that I have a lot of people in my network and friends of mine who use paper notebooks or spiral pads to really, really great effect. And if you're one of those people and it works for you, stick with it. That's fantastic. Personally, though, this is just a better option, at least for my workflow. So the last thing I really want to bring up on this that is fantastic, and I may have said that several times already, but I love this app. I really, really love it, is the cutting feature. You can actually hit the pair of scissors right here on the taskbar up here. There's a pair of scissors you can click on, and you can actually highlight or circle a section of text, like I just did here, and then you can drag that section of text around. Now, immediately, that doesn't necessarily seem super important, but the reason why it's worked great for me is I am constantly writing notes or bullet points I can outline when I'm in a customer meeting or some other sort of business-related meeting, or I'm trying to take quick notes. And we all know that sometimes you have to erase something to go back, or you're drawing lines to reference a thing you already wrote. Crap, I didn't mean to write that there. Erase that, start over. With this, you can actually take these scissors, cut something out real quick, drag it where you want it to be, and start over it again. I use it constantly. When I'm writing outlines, I can just copy a set or grab a section of text that is the outline, move it someplace else, fill in the blanks, move those around. I can come back later and move stuff around. When I draw little bubbles of some kind to put a note off to the side, I could grab that, move that to the top. Or, and I use this much more frequently lately now that I've been trying to organize myself on a daily basis and make sure I have like follow-ups from meetings clearly documented to go do, I can grab all of the text later on, move the whole page down in big chunks, and then add my follow-up notes at the very top. So when I first come into a note after a meeting, I can go through and see right away, this is the stuff I should have accomplished, and start working on that right off the bat. And then I have all my other stuff below. Love it. So that's the biggest one. This is what I use daily for note taking. I handwrite most of this stuff. I don't typically use the keyboard in this app. I use most of the keyboard in my Evernote tool, and that's where I do more of my long form notes or dictation. So I do a lot of stuff with dictation, but here I handwrite. The other thing I use here a lot is importing of documents, PDFs specifically. Ever thought about getting into a PDF, and as you're reading through a big long document, it might be a white paper or some other sort of technical document in your field, and wouldn't it be helpful if you could just highlight something there to remember? You can do that in Notability. You just simply open up the document in Notability or go into the app and import the document, and from there you can highlight sections, you can scratch things off and do all kinds of typical like editing you would normally do in a document to remember things. You can add post-it notes, all of that stuff. Seems really simple, but man, it has been helpful for me on a daily basis. So to reinforce, Notability on the iPad, the pencil, and if you really like it, the keyboard or some form of keyboard. That has been immense for me. I recently got it, and I've actually found myself more often to meetings where I don't need to do a lot of work in the meeting. I just need to take notes and engage with people or do presentations. I'm just taking my iPad with me. It's much lighter to carry around. I walk around San Francisco in the financial district a lot because I have customers in and around where I work. Makes it so much easier just to carry this because I can launch PowerPoint type decks on this or PDFs and do presentations with a dongle. So this has actually just been a really great multi-purpose tool for me. Now I know there's other pad or a tablet type devices out there that everybody has an opinion about. Some are great, some are not great. People love them for different reasons. You use what makes sense for you. I'm just wanting to let you know that this Notability app on the iPad has worked amazingly well for me. And you might want to try finding yourself some sort of tablet that you can do handwriting on or other types of note-taking quick and painlessly, because it makes life so much better when you can go through and take notes on the fly really quickly, and there's a small barrier to entry for it. You remember things better, and you always have this stuff written down rather than, if you're like me, letting this kind of flush out of your head. Okay, anyway, I'm getting on a rant. I love this thing. Check it out if you've got time. It's called Notability. You can find it in the Apple App Store. I'm using the iPad Pro. Any of the size iPad Pros would definitely work. Get the pencil. It's fantastic. As always, I'd love a thumbs up. Definitely place a comment below if you've got feedback on this, constructive feedback or otherwise, and hit me up if you guys have any questions. See you next time on the show. Cheers.